In this episode of Hope in Motion, we meet Ravi Kumar, a field checker who not only shows us how important his work is for Asian Aid sponsorship, but also shares the personal story that has him so invested.
Right after my grandmother's death, and my uncle supposed to be taking care of us, me and my brother, but maybe we have become a big burden to them, and they sold us.
India is a land full of contrast. It's a land of great mystery and beauty. It's a land of unspeakable despair. But traveling through India, one thing is for sure. It's a land filled with people who should never be underestimated. For the last 40 years, Asian Aid has invested in the futures of people who have never been given such a chance, and their investment has proven infinite returns. Driven by the vision of Helen Eager, dedicated to helping those who have the least, Asian Aid is an organization implementing diverse development projects and sponsoring thousands of children. Their outreach spans from Bangladesh to Nepal, Sri Lanka, and beyond, from remote villages and empty fields to sprawling centers of education, from nothing to the unimaginable. Now, Asian Aid decided to document the work it has been doing all these years with a desire to show the world what is possible by digging wells in remote villages for clean drinking water and bringing much-needed health care to the women of Nepal, by providing an education for orphans, deaf, and blind children, giving them a sense of place, a home. But what we really discovered was being given was hope, giving hope to children, giving hope to women, giving hope to the ones who need it the most. This is Hope in Motion.
In the early 1980s, Helen Eager got involved with a small nonprofit organization that was doing development work and sponsoring children in several countries in Asia. Helen eventually became the director of Asian Aid, and with lots of help, she grew their sponsorship program in India from just a few children to over 7,000 children today. With that kind of growth, Asian Aid quickly realized they needed a way to ensure their sponsored children were being well taken care of, and that's where Ravi comes in.
Well, my name is Ravi Kumar, and I work for the Asian Aid as a field checker. I've been working with Asian Aid last 3 years.
So we have about 6 field checkers who are called as field officers. They are placed in area close where they can go and check the children. They are expected to check at least 4 times a year to check whether the children is physically present, whether the children needs are met, whether the children is progressing overall, and get reports. A field checker, in other words, is a bridge between Helping Hand, Asian Aid and the sponsor.
Well, in years past, often the only checking that we've been able to do is when I would come to India once a year and go around the schools and, just check that they're there. Now that we have so many children sponsored, it's very important, especially for the sponsors' sake, that that we know the children are there, and so we now have checkers.
Asian Aid has several field officers to cover the expanse of India. Ravi is responsible for the states of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa, with a total of 11 schools and around 1,300 children he must check on 4 times a year. Field checkers often rely on public transportation, but in the more rural areas where there are no transport systems, they have to take whatever means necessary to get to the schools. Sometimes the hardest part of his job is just getting there.
we have some big boarding schools where we have about 300 and above children, and we need to spend about 3 to 4 days in each school. Sometimes it even takes going up till 1 week's time because I need to check each child.
At each location, Ravi begins by sitting down with each one of Asian Aid-sponsored children and asking a series of questions about their schooling, their health, and their overall well-being. All this information is compiled into a report, which helps Asian Aid ensure the child's basic needs are being met through the sponsorship program.
I'm here at Furley Academy of Seventh Adventist. One of my duties here is also to check the children, Asian children are given a nutritious food and fruits, because fruits and egg has got a good nutrition in it. And since these children come from a very poor family background and they don't get a good food at home, so the checking their meal time is also one of my duties. I check and I advise a principal or headmaster to give them best food so that the children have a good nutrition. It's because it's a main food that make them, keep them healthy and strong. So Asian always has given a good priority for the children to have good nutritious food.
Helen Eager quickly realized an unexpected benefit to Ravi's checkups.
I can remember some years ago there was another aid program that was sponsoring some children in schools, and a number of children the principal had said, the number of children had come to them and said, well, why doesn't anybody come and see us, And I kind of, you sort of don't really think that it's, you're sort of thinking that you're going there to get information for the sponsors and to, make sure everything's okay with our program, but you don't sort of really think that it also is something special for the children.
For Asian Aid workers like Ravi, making sure the children feel loved and special are just as important as meeting their physical needs. The last stop on Ravi's list for today is Elam Home in Hyderabad. For Ravi, this place was where his future began many years ago when he was just a boy.
I was also an orphan, and I haven't seen my mother and my father even till today. Right after my grandmother's death, and my uncle supposed to be taking care of us, me and my brother, but maybe we have become a big burden to them, and they sold us.
Girls, your ride's here. I love you. Have a good day at school. Bye. Bye.
See you tonight. Give my love to Mina.
I will. You can make a big difference every morning.
Sponsor a child with Asian Aid.
When I first came to India, now around 32 years ago, there were two things that really struck me. The first one was the need for food and clothing and accommodation for children living way below the poverty line. The second thing was the amazing potential that these boys and girls have to make a difference in the world. And the only thing missing was the need for people like you to help. With sponsorship, you can make a difference in the life of a child every day.
Ravi is one of Asian Aid's field officers for the states of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa in India. He travels all over the region to check on every child sponsored through Asian Aid. He checks on their academic performance, their health, and their overall well-being. Ravi knows the stories of many of the children he checks on, but Ravi also has a story.
We have a field officer called Ravi, and Ravi was one of the first children to come into Elam home at a very young age. And Ravi was sponsored as a child.
Ravi T, who is now one of our checkers for Asian Aid, he's doing very faithful work and we're very proud of him. He grew up in our Elam home in Hyderabad, and he was one of the first group that was there pretty much right from the beginning.
I was also an orphan, and I don't know, I haven't seen my mother and my father even till today. And after my mother died and my father left me and my brother with my old grandmother, and she was caring for us for some time, and later she also died. And when I was 6 years old, I remember my grandmother, she died, and she was after my grandmother's death, and my uncle supposed to be taking care of us, me and my brother, but maybe we have become a big burden to them, and they sold us.
It is estimated there are 60 million child laborers in India, many of them working under terms akin to slavery. Ravi was a 6-year-old boy when he was sold to a rich man. At 6, he was responsible for tending to the cows and keeping the cowshed tidy. In return, he was given scraps of food, enough to survive, and expected to sleep with the cows. No mother, no father, no family. Ravi and his brother had nowhere to turn.
My God, and I can't just imagine this experience I had. And I'll tell you, Johnny, I had never experienced a motherly love when I was a kid. And that's where I realized why were we left alone? Why we have no one to care for us? Why should we be slaves here working and others are sleeping in a nice house with their parents, having 3 meals per day, and me, I hardly get 1 meal working in this cow shed. And I knew that I'm suffering there, and I knew I thought maybe I was bound for suffering, because I was just a kid, and it only person knows who experienced this.
Without some kind of intervention, many children living in bondage have little hope of a future beyond the poverty of survival. One day, a local church pastor, known as Pastor K. Christopher, gave Ravi a glimmer of hope.
When I was cleaning the cow shed, and one pastor happened to walk on that road, and he suddenly saw me there, and he just came to me, and he didn't know who I am. I never seen him any time. He just saw me working there. Maybe would have felt that I must have picked up, and then he immediately came and asked me, I have a place for you, will you come? And the place where I take you, he told me that I'll get 3 meals. And I said, the moment he said you'll get 3 meals per day, then immediately I said, fine, yes, I think this will be nice. I can nicely have 3 meals, and immediately I said, fine. I only shook my head like this, because I know what to talk to him. On the other side, I was also afraid where he's going to take me again and sell. But the moment he said, I'm going to give you 3 meals per day, and that gave me some hope. Next day, I don't know what deal he had with the rich man. I don't know what he told, but I'm glad that rich man was willing to relieve me from the bound slavery. Then I was taken up to one big campus. That was the first time. It was night, and the first time I boarded bus.
The pastor brought him to Elam Adventist Home in Hyderabad. For the next 17 years, Elam Home was his home. Here, he developed close friendships with his fellow brothers and sisters, received a good education, and of course, had 3 meals a day.
He was sponsored through the upper school, and then he went to college, and now Ravi works for Asian Aid. Asian Aid's policy is that we only sponsor children of need. And so Ravi, once again, is another success story. Having been brought up in Elam home, is now working for Asian Aid, but more important, making a difference in the lives of other children.
Ravi was associated with Asian Aid from the beginning. He was very much part of Elim Home, and he was sponsored child. He completed his degree, and then he was working outside for a while, and then there was a need, and he accepted to be one of the staff of Helping Hand. He is doing it quite faithfully, and he is working in Andhra as a person of this land. We need a field checker to know the local language, know the local problem, where he can assess the reality, go to the field. In fact, if the child needs to have any information told to the parents, or in case if there is no parent, he has to relate to the situation of the child and refer to the orphanage or to the school where the child can be placed. So Ravi is in charge of the area, Andhra area now.
He just is a little guy, but he's just full of energy and full of passion for Asian Aid. And he'll stand up to the biggest principal and say, you need to give your child their Christmas gift. You need to provide books and uniform, because that's what's required through sponsorship. And so he's just passionate about looking after the children, as he was an Asian Aid orphan himself.
Whenever I come to Hyderabad, I definitely come and visit Elim, because Elim is such a sweet home for me, because I spent almost 17 years in this campus. I know every corner of this campus, these big trees around here and the building here, and the children of this home are very loving, and they're very attached and very close to me, and I spend time with them. I come here and speak to Malati, and it's lovely being here in the campus, because this is the campus where I spent most of my life.
Malathi Prathapati is the director of Elim Home and known as Mummy to the 130 children there today. But she fondly remembers her grown-up son, Ravi.
And I'm very proud to be one of his mother, and he's serving for Asian Aid. Not only Ravi, there are so many other children who gone out. The Elim Home had sent 60 fruitful workers, and almost 20 are working in the mission.
It just seems to me that those children that had sponsors just seem to be that wee bit more committed. We have found that Asian Aid children who are teachers and also Asian Aid children who now work for us in the field have an element of dedication. They also have an element of understanding of the needs of the children. Some of our workers have actually been orphans who now work for us or work for the schools. And they just seem to have that little extra passion and understanding for what they do.
The role of a field checker is vital because their work gives sponsors the confidence that funds are properly being used. But for Ravi, it's a chance to give back to children who might have otherwise wound up alone in a cowshed.
And you see, I feel there are children like this in bond slavery, and Asian Aid giving them life. And I was one. I can proudly say that I was one of those who Asian Aid picked me up from the cowshed and gave me life and gave me education. And I thank my sponsor, Mrs. Julia Dennis Taylor. And she's a wonderful mother. They are my Australian parents. And I just love my sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sean Boonstra, and I'm really excited to be an honorary ambassador for Asian Aid. Today, there are a lot of children in need of individuals who will step forward and provide them with the opportunity to receive an education. Asian Aid sponsors over 8,000 children in Adventist schools in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. You can not only give them an education, but you can also introduce these children to Jesus. Why don't you join my family in sponsoring a child through Asian Aid and making a huge difference in their lives with sponsorship?